Millionaire is saved by a poor girl. Sir, don't eat it. She put something in your cake. Before we dive into this incredible story, drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Enjoy the journey. The rain drummed against the windows of Bella Vista Cafe as Marcus Hawthorne loosened his silk tie with a weary sigh. Another birthday, another year older, and here he sat, alone. At 42, the real estate mogul had everything money could buy: penthouse apartments, luxury cars, a successful empire. Yet tonight, celebrating his birthday with a simple slice of chocolate cake felt like the loneliest moment of his life. His girlfriend Vivian had mysteriously forgotten his special day, claiming an urgent spa appointment. The familiar sting of disappointment settled in his chest as he studied the elegant cake before him. 3 layers of rich chocolate with gold leaf decoration, far too extravagant for one person. At least someone remembered, he murmured to himself, thinking of his assistant who'd arranged this quiet celebration. Marcus raised his fork, ready to take the first bite when suddenly the cafe's peaceful atmosphere shattered. "Stop! Don't eat that!" A small figure burst through the entrance, a girl no older than 8, her dark hair wild from running, her clothes worn but clean. She sprinted directly toward Marcus's table, her brown eyes wide with terror. "Sir, please!" she gasped, pointing frantically at his cake. "The cake, it's poisoned. They're trying to kill you." The entire cafe fell silent. Marcus stared at the child, his fork frozen halfway to his mouth. "What did you say?" "I heard them talking," the girl whispered urgently, glancing around nervously. "Your girlfriend Vivian and some man. They paid Ruby, the waitress, to put poison in your cake. They want your money when you die." Marcus felt the world tilt beneath him. This had to be some kind of sick joke. But looking into the child's earnest, frightened eyes, he saw nothing but raw truth. "Who are you?" he asked softly, setting down his fork. "Luna Rodriguez," she replied, still breathing hard. "I live on the streets near here. I was hiding in the storage room when I heard everything. Please, you have to believe me." Marcus glanced at his untouched cake, then back at Luna's desperate face. In that moment, everything changed. Marcus stared at Luna, his mind racing. Could this wild-haired child really be telling the truth? Every instinct screamed that this was impossible. Vivian Sterling, the elegant woman he'd been dating for 2 years, planning his murder. "You're absolutely certain about what you heard?" Marcus asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Luna nodded vigorously. "Yes, sir. The man said something about cyanide being tasteless. Vivian laughed and said you'd never suspect a birthday cake. Then she gave Ruby money, lots of it." Marcus felt ice flood his veins. Without another word, he carefully pushed the cake away and signaled for the manager. "I need this cake preserved immediately," he told the startled man, "and I want security footage from the kitchen for the past hour." "Sir, is there a problem?" the manager asked nervously. "Potentially a very serious one," Marcus replied grimly. 20 minutes later, Marcus sat in his Bentley with Luna beside him, both waiting as his personal doctor, Dr. Sarah Chen, conducted a preliminary test on cake samples in her nearby clinic. "Tell me about yourself, Luna," Marcus said gently, studying the brave child who might have just saved his life. Luna's face clouded over. "My parents died in a car crash 2 years ago. I've been living on the streets since the foster system didn't work out." She looked down at her worn sneakers. "I sleep in doorways near the cafe sometimes. That's how I know about the storage room." Marcus's heart ached for this courageous girl. "And you risked everything to warn a complete stranger?" "My mom always said good people help good people," Luna replied simply. Dr. Chen's call interrupted them. Marcus answered with trembling hands. "Marcus," Sarah's voice was grave, "you need to sit down. That cake contains enough cyanide to kill 3 grown men. Someone definitely tried to murder you tonight." The phone slipped from Marcus's numb fingers. Luna had been telling the absolute truth. "What happens now?" Luna asked quietly, seeing his shocked expression. Marcus looked at this extraordinary child who'd appeared like an angel to save his life. Now, we find out exactly who Vivian Sterling really is. Marcus wasted no time. By dawn, his team of private investigators, led by former FBI agent Ethan Blackwood, was already digging into Vivian Sterling's background. What they uncovered in just 12 hours left Marcus reeling. "Marcus, you need to see this," Ethan said grimly, spreading files across the mahogany table in Marcus's study. Luna sat nearby, quietly coloring in a book Marcus had bought her, but her alert eyes missed nothing. "Vivian Sterling doesn't exist," Ethan announced. "At least, not the woman you've been dating." Marcus's blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" Ethan opened a thick folder. "Her real name is Victoria Slade. She's a professional con artist with an impressive rap sheet. Look at this." He slid photographs across the table. The same beautiful face, but with different hair colors and styles, different names. Rebecca Thompson, engaged to oil executive Richard Hayes, died in a boating accident after changing his will. Catherine Wells dating tech mogul David Kim, fatal allergic reaction to shellfish at a restaurant she chose. Sarah Mitchell, involved with banker George Foster, heart attack after she suggested a new medication. Marcus felt sick. How many? At least 5 men in the past decade, all wealthy, all dead under suspicious circumstances. She always inherits substantial amounts before disappearing. Luna looked up from her coloring. "I told you she was bad," she said matter-of-factly. Ethan continued. "But here's the really disturbing part. She never works alone. There's a whole network. The man Luna overheard is likely Jake Morrison, her usual partner. He typically infiltrates as a business associate or service provider." Marcus's hands shook as he studied the evidence. "How could I have been so blind?" "She's a professional, Marcus," Ethan said gently. "These people study their targets for months. Learn exactly what you want to hear. How to be irresistible to you specifically." The study door suddenly creaked open. Marcus's blood froze as Vivian herself appeared, her perfectly coiffed blonde hair gleaming, her smile as radiant as ever. "Darling, you missed our breakfast date," she purred. Then her eyes fell on the photographs scattered across the table. For just a split second, her mask slipped, revealing something cold and calculating underneath. "Well," she said softly, her voice dropping its usual sweetness. "This is awkward." Vivian's sudden appearance sent shockwaves through the room. Ethan's hand instinctively moved toward his concealed weapon, while Luna shrank behind Marcus's chair, fear flickering in her young eyes. "Victoria," Ethan said calmly, using her real name deliberately. "Or do you prefer Vivian today?" Her laugh was like ice cracking. "Oh, how tedious. I suppose the charade is over." She studied the photographs with professional detachment. "Though I must say, that picture from the Rebecca phase really doesn't capture my best angle." Marcus stood slowly, his entire body trembling with rage and betrayal. "How long have you been planning to kill me?" "Since our third date, actually," Victoria replied with chilling casualness. "You're so wonderfully predictable, Marcus. Lonely. Rich man desperate for companionship. You made it almost too easy." Luna suddenly stepped out from behind Marcus's chair, her small fists clenched. "You're a monster. You hurt all those nice men." Victoria's cold gaze shifted to Luna, and something dangerous flashed in her eyes. "And you're the little street rat who ruined everything. Do you have any idea how much planning you've destroyed?" "That's enough," Marcus said sharply, moving protectively in front of Luna. "Ethan, call the police." "I wouldn't do that if I were you," Victoria said smoothly, backing toward the door. "You see, Marcus, darling, this is far from over. My associates don't appreciate complications." She blew him a mocking kiss. "Goodbye, my love. This has been fun." The moment she vanished, Marcus dropped to one knee beside Luna. "Are you okay, sweetheart?" Luna nodded bravely, but he could see her hands shaking. "She scared me. Her eyes were so mean." She can't hurt you now, Marcus promised, though Ethan's worried expression suggested otherwise. Marcus, Ethan said quietly, we need to consider protective custody for Luna. If Victoria's network sees her as a threat. She stays with me, Marcus said firmly. Luna, would you like that? Would you feel safe here? Luna studied his face with the wisdom of a child who'd learned too early that adults often disappointed. You really mean it? You won't get tired of me and send me away? The vulnerability in her voice broke Marcus's heart. Never. I promise. For the first time since entering his life, Luna smiled, a genuine, radiant expression that transformed her entire face. Can I really have my own room with a real bed? The biggest, most comfortable room in the house, Marcus assured her. As Ethan made security arrangements, Marcus watched Luna explore her new surroundings with cautious wonder. He'd built an empire, commanded boardrooms, closed million-dollar deals. Yet somehow earning the trust of one brave little girl felt like the most important thing he'd ever done. 3 days after Victoria's chilling departure, Ethan arrived at Marcus's mansion with a grim expression and an armload of files. Luna was upstairs in her new room, a spacious sanctuary Marcus had transformed with soft purple walls, a telescope by the window, and more books than any 8-year-old could read in a lifetime. What did you find? Marcus asked, leading Ethan to his study. More than I bargained for, Ethan replied, spreading documents across the desk. Victoria isn't just a lone wolf. She's part of a sophisticated criminal organization led by a man named Damian Cross. Marcus studied the surveillance photos. Cross was handsome in a dangerous way. Silver hair, expensive suits, cold blue eyes that seemed to calculate everything. Cross runs what we call romance assassination schemes, Ethan explained. Victoria is his star player. She targets wealthy, lonely men, typically recently divorced or widowed. While she builds the relationship, Jake Morrison infiltrates the target's life. Jake Morrison, Marcus repeated. Luna mentioned hearing a man's voice. 6'2", brown hair, charming personality. He's a chameleon, sometimes a business consultant, sometimes a contractor, sometimes even a therapist, whatever gets him close to the target. Ethan pulled out more photos. In your case, he was planning to approach you as a security specialist. Marcus felt sick remembering how Victoria had recently suggested he needed better home security. How do they choose their victims? Careful research. They study financial records, social patterns, psychological profiles. Cross himself is a former psychiatrist who was stripped of his license for manipulating patients. He understands exactly how to exploit loneliness and vulnerability. And the waitress, Ruby? Ruby Martinez, 23, single mother drowning in debt. Cross's people recruit these local assets with money and threats. Ruby's been feeding them information about your routines for months. When you come to the cafe, what you order, whether you're alone. The scope of the betrayal overwhelmed Marcus. How many people are in this organization? We're still uncovering that. But based on what we know, they've operated in at least 12 cities over the past decade. Conservative estimate? They've stolen over $50 million and killed at least 8 people. A small voice from the doorway interrupted them. They hurt 8 families? Marcus turned to see Luna standing there, her eyes wide with understanding, beyond her years. I'm sorry, sweetheart, Marcus said gently. We didn't want you to worry. Luna walked over and studied Cross's photo carefully. He looks mean, like Victoria. But you caught them, right? They can't hurt anyone else? Ethan and Marcus exchanged glances. We're working on it, Luna. Ethan said carefully. Good, Luna replied firmly. Because families shouldn't be broken by bad people. Her simple statement hit Marcus like a thunderbolt. This brave little girl had already lost her parents. Now she'd risked everything to save him. They were both survivors of loss, both searching for something real. No, Marcus agreed, pulling Luna close. They shouldn't. 2 weeks had passed since Luna moved into Marcus's mansion, and the house felt more alive than it had in years. Marcus discovered that having an 8-year-old around meant constant surprises, like finding her asleep in the library surrounded by astronomy books, or coming home to elaborate blanket forts constructed in the living room. "Uncle Marcus," Luna called excitedly, racing down the marble staircase as he returned from work. She'd started calling him that naturally, and each time his heart swelled with unexpected joy. "What adventure did you have today?" Marcus asked, setting down his briefcase to catch her in a hug. "Mrs. Patterson taught me about constellations." Luna bounced with enthusiasm. Mrs. Patricia Patterson was the retired teacher Marcus had hired as Luna's tutor, a warm, grandmotherly woman who somehow made learning feel like play. "And guess what? I found out there's a star named Luna. It's not really a star, it's the moon, but in Latin it means moon, and that's my name." Marcus smiled, loving her excitement. "That's perfect. You've always been my little star anyway." Luna beamed, then grew thoughtful. "Uncle Marcus, can I ask you something?" "Anything, sweetheart." "Were you lonely before I came here? This house is so big for just one person." The innocent question pierced straight through Marcus's defenses. "Yes," he admitted quietly. "I was very lonely. I didn't realize how much until you arrived." "Me too," Luna confided. "Living on the streets was scary, but the worst part was having nobody who cared if I was okay." She paused, studying his face. "But now we take care of each other, right?" "Right," Marcus agreed, his voice thick with emotion. That evening, as they worked on a 1,000-piece puzzle of the solar system, Luna made an observation that caught Marcus off guard. "You know what's funny? The bad lady Victoria thought money was the most important thing about you. But that's not why I like you." "No? What do you like about me, then?" Luna considered seriously. "You listen when I talk. You make me feel safe. And you're teaching me that some grown-ups keep their promises." She placed a puzzle piece carefully. "Plus, you're not scared of my questions, even the hard ones." Marcus felt something fundamental shift inside his chest. For 42 years, he'd measured his worth by business success, bank accounts, and material achievements. But this brave little girl valued him for entirely different reasons, reasons that felt infinitely more meaningful. "Luna," he said carefully, "how would you feel about maybe staying here permanently? Not just until the bad people are caught, but always?" Luna's hands stilled on the puzzle. "You mean like adoption?" "If you wanted that. If you could be happy being my daughter." Luna was quiet for a long moment, and Marcus held his breath. Finally, she looked up with tears shining in her eyes. "I would love that more than anything in the whole universe," she whispered. "But you sure? What if I mess up or cause problems?" Marcus pulled her into his arms. "Then we'll figure it out together. That's what families do." Marcus was reviewing security footage with Ethan when his phone rang. The caller ID showed Detective Reynolds from the NYPD. "Mr. Hawthorne." The detective's voice was tense. "We've executed a search warrant on Victoria Slade's apartment. You need to see what we found." An hour later, Marcus stood in Victoria's luxurious penthouse, surrounded by evidence of her double life. Designer clothes hung beside wigs and fake identification documents. But what made Marcus's blood freeze was what Detective Reynolds held in his gloved hands. "Do you recognize this?" the detective asked gently. Marcus stared at the object in disbelief. It was his mother's necklace, a stunning piece with pearls and sapphires that had been in the Hawthorne family for 3 generations. Eleanor Hawthorne had worn it on her wedding day, and it was the last gift she'd given Marcus before cancer took her 2 years ago. "That's impossible," Marcus whispered, his voice breaking. "It disappeared after my mother's funeral. I thought it was misplaced during the estate settlement." "Found it in her private safe along with these." Detective Reynolds showed him photographs. Marcus's mother wearing the necklace, family documents, even medical records from Eleanor's final days. Ethan studied the evidence grimly. "She's been planning this for over 2 years, Marcus. She likely targeted you while your mother was still alive, studied your family, your vulnerabilities. The revelation hit Marcus like a physical blow. Victoria hadn't just stolen jewelry. She'd violated his most sacred memories, profited from his grief over his mother's death. There's more, Detective Reynolds continued, leading them to Victoria's desk. Love letters addressed to you, but never sent. Financial documents showing she's been siphoning money from your accounts for 18 months. And this, he handed Marcus a leather journal. Inside were detailed notes about Marcus's routines, psychological assessments, even observations about his loneliness after his mother's death. One entry made his stomach turn. Target extremely vulnerable following mother's death. Sentimental. Attachment to family heirlooms could be exploited. Recommend theft of necklace to create emotional dependency when recovered later. She planned to give it back to me, Marcus realized with horror, probably as some romantic gesture to make me trust her completely. Luna, who had been quietly observing from behind Mrs. Patterson, stepped forward. That necklace was your mommy's? Marcus nodded, unable to speak. Then she stole your mommy's love, Luna said with the clarity only children possess. That's the worst kind of stealing. Ethan's phone buzzed urgently. His expression darkened as he read the message. What is it? Marcus asked. Victoria's escaped police custody during transport. She overpowered an officer and fled. Ethan's voice was grim. And Marcus, she took one of the officer's guns. The sacred necklace suddenly felt heavy in Marcus's hands, as he realized their nightmare was far from over. Marcus barely slept that night, clutching his mother's recovered necklace while security guards patrolled the mansion grounds. Luna had insisted on sleeping in his guest room rather than her own, too frightened to be alone after learning about Victoria's escape. Uncle Marcus? Luna's small voice broke the pre-dawn silence. I keep thinking about the bad lady. What if she comes back? She won't get near you, Marcus promised, though his own anxiety gnawed at him. A desperate cornered criminal with a gun was infinitely more dangerous than the calculating seductress he'd thought he knew. At 7 a.m., Marcus's intercom buzzed. His security chief announced a visitor. Mr. Jake Morrison from Sentinel Protection Services says he has an appointment about upgrading your security system. Marcus's blood ran cold. The name from Ethan's files, Victoria's partner. Send him away, Marcus instructed quickly. Cancel all appointments today. But 20 minutes later, his housekeeper, Mrs. Chen, knocked urgently. Mr. Hawthorne, there's been an incident. Someone cut the main security lines outside. That protection specialist is insisting he needs to inspect the damage immediately. Marcus realized with growing dread that Jake Morrison wasn't just arriving. By coincidence, he was already implementing their backup plan. Mrs. Chen, take Luna to the safe room now, Marcus ordered. Call Ethan immediately. As his housekeeper hurried Luna away, Marcus heard his phone buzzing with an unknown number. Hello, darling. Victoria's voice was silk wrapped around steel. Miss me? Where are you? Marcus demanded. Closer than you think. I believe you've met my colleague Jake by now. Handsome man, very good with his hands, especially when it comes to security vulnerabilities. Marcus moved to his window, spotting a figure in coveralls examining the external alarm system. Jake. Morrison appeared exactly as Ethan had described. Tall, confident, and now mere feet from his front door. What do you want, Victoria? Originally, just your fortune and your life in that order. But that troublesome little girl complicated things. Her voice turned venomous. Now I want her silenced permanently. She's seen too much, knows too much. You touch one hair on Luna's head. You'll what? You're outnumbered, Marcus. Jake's inside your perimeter. I'm nearby with my new toy. Marcus heard the distinctive sound of a gun being cocked, and you have a helpless child to protect. Not exactly favorable odds. Through his security monitors, Marcus watched Jake approach the front entrance, tools in hand, the perfect picture of a legitimate repairman. Here's what's going to happen, Victoria continued. You're going to invite Jake inside to fix your security. During his very thorough inspection, there will be a tragic home invasion. Wealthy businessman and adopted daughter killed by mysterious intruders. So sad. Marcus felt the walls closing. In Luna's courage had saved his life, but now his wealth and prominence had painted a target on hers. 1 hour, Marcus, Victoria purred. Then we're coming in anyway. Marcus's hands shook as he ended Victoria's call. Jake Morrison was still, outside, methodically working his way around the mansion's perimeter like a predator mapping his territory. Marcus had minutes to act before the trap closed completely. Ethan, where are you? Marcus whispered into his phone. 10 minutes out. Ethan's voice crackled through. I've got backup coming. Can you hold them off? Maybe, Marcus replied, watching Jake examine the mansion's rear entrance. But Victoria's armed and... A thunderous crash echoed through the house. Marcus spun toward the sound. Jake had somehow breached the kitchen entrance despite the reinforced locks. Mr. Hawthorne? Jake's voice called out pleasantly. Sentinel. Security, I need to check your alarm system immediately. Safety emergency. Marcus grabbed the emergency phone to the safe room. Mrs. Chen, whatever happens, don't open that door. Don't let Luna out until Ethan arrives. Uncle Marcus? Luna's frightened voice came through the speaker. I can hear the bad man downstairs. Stay. Hidden, sweetheart, I'm coming. Marcus moved silently through his own home, now feeling like a stranger in enemy territory. He could hear Jake's footsteps moving systematically through the ground floor, searching for the safe room's location. I know you're here, Marcus, Jake called out, his friendly facade completely dropped. And I know you've got the kid hidden somewhere. This can be easy or hard, your choice. A window shattered in the study. Victoria's laugh echoed from outside. Time's up, darling, she shouted. Jake's just getting started. I do hope you haven't grown too attached to that little girl. Marcus realized with horror that they'd coordinated a two-pronged assault. While Jake searched inside, Victoria was creating chaos from multiple entry points, making it impossible to predict their next move. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. A photo of the safe room's hidden entrance from an impossible angle. Someone was already inside the walls. A third accomplice. Mr. Hawthorne, came a new voice from the basement. Damien Cross. We really should talk. The criminal mastermind himself was here. Marcus felt the net tightening around them as Luna's terrified sobs reached him through the house's intercom system. I found something interesting down here, Cross continued conversationally. Blueprints of your entire security system, including that cute little safe room. Titanium walls, impressive. But did you know there's a maintenance tunnel that bypasses all that protection? Marcus's blood turned to ice. The builder had mentioned emergency access for repairs, but it had been sealed. Not quite sealed enough, Cross said, as if reading his thoughts. We'll have your little witness in about 60 seconds. Sirens wailed in the distance, Ethan's backup, but 60 seconds might as well be 60 hours. The sirens grew louder, but Marcus knew they wouldn't arrive in time. Luna's frightened whimpers echoed through the intercom as he heard construction sounds from the basement. Cross's team breaking through the maintenance tunnel. Mrs. Chen, get Luna as far from the door as possible. Marcus shouted into his phone. They're almost through the wall. Mrs. Chen's panicked voice crackled back. Mr. Hawthorne, I can see drills. Marcus felt utterly helpless. All his wealth, all his resources, and he couldn't protect the one person who mattered most. Luna had saved his life with nothing but courage, and now he was failing her when she needed him most. Touching family moment, Cross's voice drifted up from below. But misguided. The child is a liability, Marcus. She's seen too much. Heard too much. Business is business. Jake's footsteps pounded up the stairs toward Marcus's location. Victoria's gun fired twice outside. Warning shots designed to terrorize. You know what your problem is, Marcus? Cross continued, his voice getting closer. You think money can protect you from consequences, but some things are more powerful than wealth. In that moment of desperation, Marcus found himself thinking of his mother, Eleanor. Her final words to him in the hospital. Money isn't what makes a family, Marcus. Love is what makes people fight impossible odds for each other. Luna had demonstrated that truth by risking everything to save a stranger. Now it was his turn. Marcus made a decision that went against every survival instinct. Instead of running or hiding, he walked deliberately toward the main staircase and called out loudly, "Cross, I have a proposition." The drilling sound stopped. The house fell eerily silent. "I'm listening," Cross replied. "Take me instead. Luna doesn't know anything useful. She's just a scared kid who happened to overhear you. But I have information you need. Swiss bank accounts, offshore holdings, investor contacts. I'm worth more to you alive than dead." Interesting, Cross mused. But why would you sacrifice yourself for a street orphan you've known for 3 weeks? Marcus thought of Luna's brave face, her trust in him, her simple faith that good people helped good people. "Because she's not just any child," Marcus said firmly. "She's my daughter, and fathers protect their children." Luna's voice came through. The intercom, clear and strong despite her tears. "I love you too, Daddy." The word daddy hit Marcus like lightning. In that moment, surrounded by killers, facing impossible odds, he finally understood what truly mattered. How incredibly naive. Cross laughed coldly. "Jake, go get the child. It's time to end this." Jake's heavy footsteps thundered down the hallway toward the safe room. Marcus felt time slipping away like sand through his fingers. In moments, Cross's team would breach the titanium walls and reach Luna. Then Luna's voice crackled through. The intercom, not crying anymore, but urgent and excited. "Daddy, my phone. I still have pictures." Marcus's heart stopped. "What pictures, sweetheart?" "From the cafe. When I was hiding in the storage room, I was playing with my old phone, the one that barely works. I accidentally took pictures when I heard the bad people talking." Mrs. Chen's voice joined in. "She's showing me the phone now. Mr. Hawthorne, there are photos here and there's audio." Ethan's voice suddenly boomed through Marcus's earpiece. "We're breaching the front entrance now. Keep them talking." Cross's drilling resumed with renewed urgency. "Fascinating conversation," his voice echoed from below, "but ultimately pointless." Marcus's mind raced. Luna's phone, the evidence they needed to bring down the entire criminal network, was right there, in the safe room. "Luna, sweetheart, can you hear me clearly?" "Yes, Daddy." "I need you to do something very important. Can you send those pictures to Ethan's phone? Mrs. Chen has his number." "The phone barely works," Mrs. Chen reported tensely. "But I'm trying." A tremendous crash echoed through the house as Ethan's team burst through the front door. Gunfire erupted immediately, Victoria and Jake engaging the federal agents. "Upload faster." Cross screamed from the basement. "We need that child silenced." Mrs. Chen's voice trembled with concentration. "It's working. The photos are sending. Dear God, these recordings are clear. They're confessing to multiple murders." Marcus heard Ethan's voice through his earpiece. "We've got Jake pinned down. Victoria's escaped to the garden. Where's Cross?" "Basement tunnel," Marcus shouted back. "He's almost through to the safe room." A metallic clang echoed from below. The titanium wall had been breached. "Got it," Mrs. Chen shouted through the intercom. "The evidence is uploaded, all of it." Luna's voice, brave despite everything. "Daddy, are the good guys going to win now?" The drilling stopped completely. Cross's voice, now deadly quiet. "Even if those photos convict us, you'll never live to testify." Marcus heard footsteps rushing up from the basement. Cross was coming for him personally, abandoning his attempt to reach Luna. "The evidence is already with the FBI," Marcus called out, backing toward the main staircase. "It's over, Cross." "Not quite," Cross replied, appearing at the top of the basement stairs with a gun trained on Marcus. "Victoria was right about one thing. You're annoyingly sentimental. Perfect weakness to exploit. Cross stood at the top of the basement stairs, his gun trained steadily on Marcus. The criminal mastermind's silver hair was disheveled, his expensive suit torn, but his cold blue eyes remained calculating. "You know what I find fascinating about wealthy men like you?" Cross said conversationally, as if they were discussing business over cocktails. "You think love makes you stronger. In reality, it makes you weak. Predictable." Marcus kept his hands visible, mind racing. Ethan's team was somewhere in the house, but gunfire still echoed from multiple directions. "You're wrong about one thing, Cross. Love doesn't make you weak, it makes you desperate. And desperate people are dangerous." Cross laughed coldly. Touching philosophy, but ultimately useless. He raised the gun toward Marcus's chest. "Once I eliminate you, that child becomes an orphan again. Easy to disappear in the system. No, one protects orphans." "Actually," came Ethan's voice from behind Cross, "federal agents do." Cross spun, but Ethan was already moving, 3 agents flanking him with weapons drawn. In the split second of Cross's distraction, Marcus dove sideways as gunfire erupted. Cross was fast, but not fast enough. Ethan's shot caught him in the shoulder, spinning him around. The criminal's weapon clattered across the marble floor. "It's over, Damien," Ethan said grimly, keeping his gun trained on the wounded man. "Jake's in custody. Victoria's surrounded in the garden. And thanks to Luna's recordings, we have enough evidence to dismantle your entire operation." Cross pressed, his hand to his bleeding shoulder, but his expression remained defiant. "You have nothing. Hearsay from a child, grainy photos." "Actually," Agent Sarah Martinez stepped forward with a tablet, "we have crystal clear audio of you confessing to 8 murders, detailed financial records of your money laundering, and testimony from Ruby Martinez, who's agreed to cooperate in exchange for reduced charges." Cross's face went pale. "Impossible." "Luna's phone captured everything," Marcus said, getting to his feet. "Every word you said to Victoria about your previous victims, every detail about the cyanide, your entire conversation about making my death look like a home invasion." The safe room door finally opened. Mrs. Chen emerged first, then Luna. Brave, beautiful Luna, still clutching her battered phone. "Did we win, Daddy?" she asked, running to Marcus's arms. Marcus scooped her up, holding her tight against his chest. "We won, sweetheart. The bad people can't hurt anyone anymore." Cross stared at them, then at the agents surrounding him. "Sentimental fools," he muttered. "No," Marcus replied firmly. "Family." 3 weeks after Cross's arrest, Marcus sat in the federal courthouse watching the final pieces of justice fall into place. Luna sat beside him, wearing a pretty blue dress and clutching the small notebook where she'd been drawing pictures of their new life together. Assistant District Attorney Jennifer Walsh approached the witness stand, where Ruby Martinez sat nervously. The young waitress had lost weight during her detention, but her cooperation had proven invaluable. "Miss Martinez," Walsh began gently, "can you tell the court about your first contact with the defendants?" Ruby's voice shook as she spoke. "Damien, Cross approached me 6 months ago. My daughter needed surgery and I couldn't afford it. He offered $50,000 if I would just watch Mr. Hawthorne, report his habits." "And did you know they were planning to murder him?" "Not at first," Ruby whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I thought it was just information gathering, maybe for a business competitor. But then Victoria asked me to put something in his birthday cake, and when I refused, Cross threatened my little girl." Marcus felt Luna squeeze his hand. They'd both learned that courage sometimes meant admitting when you were scared. "When did you realize the substance was poison?" "The night before Mr. Hawthorne's birthday. Cross showed me the vial of cyanide and explained exactly how it would work. He said if I didn't do it, something would happen to my daughter Maria." Ruby looked directly at Marcus. "I'm so sorry. I was trapped. But that doesn't excuse what I almost did." During the break, Detective Reynolds approached Marcus with updates. "Victoria's been extradited from Montreal. Canadian authorities caught her trying to board a flight to Switzerland using false documents. She'll face trial next month." "And Cross?" Looking at life without parole. The evidence from Luna's phone led us to 3 other crime scenes we'd missed. We can now definitively link his organization to 11 murders across 7 states. Luna tugged on Marcus's sleeve. What does life without parole mean? Marcus knelt to her level. It means he can never hurt anyone again. He'll stay in prison forever. Good, Luna said firmly. Bad people who hurt families should stay locked up. That afternoon, Detective Reynolds made a special presentation to Luna at the police station. On behalf of the FBI and NYPD, we're awarding you this certificate of courage for your bravery in preventing a murder and helping us solve multiple cases. Luna beamed as photographers captured the moment. Can I show Mrs. Patterson when we get home? Of course, sweetheart, Marcus smiled. The word home from Luna's lips never failed to warm his heart. Later that evening, as they walked through Central Park, Luna grew thoughtful. Daddy, what's going to happen to Ruby's little girl? She doesn't have a mommy or daddy now with Ruby in jail. Marcus had been wondering the same thing. Ruby will serve 2 years, then be on probation. But you're right. Maria needs help now. Luna stopped walking and looked up at him with those wise 8-year-old eyes. We have a big house, and we know what it's like when bad things happen to your family. Marcus smiled, realizing his daughter's generous heart was about to make their family even bigger. 2 months later, Marcus stood outside the maximum security prison where Damian Cross awaited trial. He'd come here not for revenge, but for closure, and to deliver a message that only he could give. Cross sat across from him in the visiting room, orange jumpsuit replacing his expensive suits, his silver hair unkempt. The man who had once commanded a criminal empire now looked diminished, almost frail. I didn't expect to see you here, Cross said quietly. I didn't expect to come, Marcus replied. But Luna asked me to tell you something. Cross's eyebrows raised slightly. The child wants to speak to me? She wanted you to know that Ruby's daughter Maria is safe. She's living with us now while Ruby serves her sentence. Maria's getting the medical care she needs and she's happy. Cross stared at him blankly. You're telling me you've taken in the child of the woman who nearly poisoned you? Luna insisted. She said Maria shouldn't suffer because of adult mistakes. Marcus leaned forward. That little girl you threatened? She's learned something you never understood, that breaking the cycle of harm is what makes us human. Cross was quiet for a long moment. And why do you care what I think about this? Because Victoria's trial starts next week. You can testify against her, help us ensure she never hurts another family, or you can protect her and spend the rest of your life wondering how many more people died because of your silence. What's in it for me? Marcus had expected this question. Nothing. No deals. No reduced sentences. This is your chance to do one decent thing with whatever humanity you have left. Cross laughed bitterly. You want me to develop a conscience now? I want you to understand that the little girl you tried to kill has more courage and compassion in her 8-year-old heart than you've shown in your entire life. Marcus stood to leave. Luna also wanted me to tell you that she forgives you. She what? She forgives you. Not because you deserve it, but because holding on to anger would hurt her more than it would hurt you. Marcus paused at the door. She's teaching a scared, traumatized 6-year-old named Maria how to trust people again. That's what healing looks like, Cross. That's what you spent your life trying to destroy. 3 weeks later, Marcus sat in another courtroom as Victoria's trial concluded. Cross had indeed testified against his former partner, providing details that ensured Victoria would never see freedom again. As the judge pronounced Victoria's sentence, life without parole for multiple counts of murder, Marcus felt Luna slip her hand into his. Is it really over now, Daddy? She whispered. It's really over, Marcus confirmed, squeezing her small fingers. That evening, they returned to the mansion where Maria was waiting with Mrs. Patterson, both girls working on a puzzle together. Maria, once withdrawn and fearful, now laughed freely as Luna showed her how to find corner pieces. Look what we made, Luna announced. pointing to their progress on a 1,000-piece image of a garden. Maria found all the flower pieces. Marcus watched his two daughters, one by choice, one by chance, building something beautiful together. The house that had once echoed with loneliness now rang with children's laughter. 1 year later, Marcus stood in the garden behind his mansion, watching Luna and Maria chase fireflies in the gathering twilight. The girls' laughter echoed across the manicured lawn as they ran between the rose bushes Eleanor Hawthorne had planted decades ago. Today marked the anniversary of the day Luna had burst into the cafe and saved his life. So much had changed since that terrifying birthday evening. "Daddy, look!" Luna called, cupping her hands gently around a captured firefly. "I caught one, but I'm going to let it go free." "Why, sweetheart?" Marcus asked, walking over to join them. "Because beautiful things should be free to shine," Luna replied, opening her palms and watching the tiny light drift away into the summer air. Maria, now 9 and fully recovered from her surgery, nodded seriously. "Luna taught me that. She says keeping good things locked up makes them sad." Marcus smiled, remembering how frightened and withdrawn Maria had been when she first arrived. Ruby was serving the final months of her sentence, but she visited regularly, rebuilding her relationship with her daughter while expressing endless gratitude to Marcus and Luna for their forgiveness. "Girls, come here for a moment," Marcus called softly. "I have something special to share." They settled on the garden bench where Eleanor had once read him bedtime stories. Marcus pulled out a small velvet box, his heart full of the same nervous excitement he'd felt before major business presentations, except this moment mattered infinitely more. "Luna, do you remember when we first talked about becoming a real family?" Luna nodded, her eyes bright with curiosity. "When you asked if I wanted to be adopted forever and always." "Well, the forever and always is official now," Marcus said, showing her the final adoption papers. "But there's something else, something that belonged to my mother, your grandmother Eleanor." He opened the box, revealing his mother's pearl and sapphire necklace, the family heirloom Victoria had stolen and defiled with her greed. Luna gasped. "It's beautiful, but isn't it too fancy for me? My mother always said this necklace should go to the daughter who brought the most love into our family," Marcus explained, his voice thick with emotion. "She never met you, Luna, but I know she would have adored your brave heart." As Marcus fastened the delicate chain around Luna's neck, she touched the pearls reverently. "Now I'm really part of the family?" "You were part of this family the moment you risked everything to save a stranger," Marcus replied. "This necklace just makes it official." Maria leaned closer to admire the jewelry. "It's like a princess necklace." "We're all princesses in this family," Luna declared solemnly, then brightened. "Even Daddy, but he's a prince." Their laughter drew Mrs. Patterson to the garden window, where she smiled at the scene below. Ruby would be home in 3 months, but Maria had found healing and security in this house full of love. As the stars appeared overhead, Marcus looked at his two daughters, one who had saved his life, one who had taught them both about second chances, and realized that the emptiness that had haunted him for years was completely gone. "What are you thinking about, Daddy?" Luna asked, snuggling against his side. "I'm thinking about how sometimes the worst things that happen to us lead to the best things," Marcus replied, wrapping his arms around both girls. "A year ago, someone tried to poison me. But if that hadn't happened, I never would have met my two amazing daughters." Luna fingered the necklace thoughtfully. "So the bad lady accidentally did something good?" "Sometimes good people find ways to make beautiful things grow from ugly situations," Marcus said. "That's what families do. They turn hurt into healing." As they sat together under the starlit sky, Marcus knew Eleanor would have been proud. He'd finally learned what truly mattered, not the empire he'd built, but the love he'd found.